Hi everyone, it's Coach Fred here, and so today we're going to be following up on what we learned in class today regarding reference angles and just making sure you understand the angle measures in the unit circle that we kind of found. And I'm going to add a few to it. Okay, so we said that basically today reference angles were a first quadrant angle that helps us refer to angles in the other three quadrants. That's Coach Fred's definition of it. A reference angle is actually any angle drawn on the coordinate plane that has a vertex of the origin. The reference angle is the angle between the terminal side and the x-axis. So standard position, starting in standard position, and the x-axis. So the terminal side and the x-axis. So for example, if I was looking at this angle, this would be the reference angle because the terminal side and the x-axis. Okay? If I was looking at this angle right here, all the way around, this would be the terminal side. So the reference angle would be the angle created with the x-axis. What's really, really nice to think about is that reference angles, if I actually draw the triangles, they're always going to form a bow tie with the x-axis, with this, and this being the reference angle, okay? All right, so that's kind of important. So for today, we learned that the angles we were going to be looking at were 30. So we'll do the 30. If this is 30 degrees, then over here, well, if this is 30, then the actual rotation from standard position would be 150 degrees. All right? So if I kept going, another 30 degrees here, this would be the other reference angle of 30 degrees. So this would be 210 degrees, 30 plus 180. If I go over here, again, we reflected all these today, and this were 30 degrees, then this angle right here would be 330 degrees. Okay, so those angles all are going to have the same coordinate point that we came up with for 30 degrees, which was root 3 over 2, 1/2. The only difference is whether they're positive or negative based on the quadrant. Okay, let's look at the next set of angles. 45 was our next one. Oh, let me keep that 330 there. Okay, 45. So 45 is the reference angle now. So that means it refers to this angle right here. But the angle measure from standard position I'd be looking for would be 135 degrees, because 180 minus 45. Okay, if I'm here then, this is the 45 degree angle. I would be doing 180 plus 45, which would give me 225. If I'm looking here, this would be a 45 degree angle, so then this would be 360 minus 45, so 315 degrees. All right, again, the coordinate points will all be the same, just the positive and negative are different. And that's why I keep saying it's going to be really important that you know your quadrant 1 coordinate points. Okay, and then the last one we went over today was 60 degrees. So 60 degrees is the reference angle. So if I go over to this angle, that would be the reflecting angle, so that would be 120 degrees. This would be the other 60 degree reference angle point, so that would be 180 plus 60, so 240 degrees. And if I go to this last angle here, it would be 360 minus 60, and you guys had come up with 300 degrees. All right, and then the coordinate point there would be 1/2 root 3 over 2. All right. So those are the angle measures in the unit circle when they're in degrees. Again, we're going to learn another unit that you're going to have to know. Now, a couple like relationships, you might see that it goes 15 degrees, 15 degrees, and then there's 30 degrees here and 30 degrees here. So sometimes kids use that until they get it down what all the angles all the way around would be. So like what I always like to say to myself is all the ones that have 5 in them, right? Those are going to have the 45 degree as the reference angle, okay? So that's another way of kind of helping yourself remember it. All right, the other angles we have to know are the quadrantal angles. Quadrantal angles are the angles that are right on the axis, okay? So right on the axis. Angles on the X and Y axis. These actually are the easy ones. They're the ones I always go to first, right? So think about it. If I start in standard position, we're always going to start at a 0 degree angle. If I go up here, I've traveled, look, it's a right angle, so it's 90 degrees. If I go over here, you can see that linear angle, that's not supplementary angle. You can see that that angle that looks like a straight angle. So that would be 180 degrees. Oops, 180 degrees. Okay, if I go straight down, I've gone another 90 degrees. I'd be at 270, and then I'd be at 360. And then I wouldn't start over at 0 again. I'd keep adding. So if I went another 90, I'd be 450 degrees. And then if I did another 90, I'd be at 540. And then I'd do 630, and then 720. And I can keep going thousands of times around if I wanted to, okay? But I'll always end up back at one of these places, okay? All right, so those are called the quadrantal angles. Well, let's see if we can figure out their coordinate point. Remember, the unit circle is a circle with a radius of, in your head I hope you said 1. Okay, so if this length is 1, we know this coordinate point then would have to be 1, 0. All right, if we went up here, this coordinate point would be 0, 1. If I went over here, this coordinate point would be -1, 0. And if I went down here, this coordinate point would be 0, -1. All right, so we talked about the fact that it's really important that you know these values. I would say that I would really start working on practicing just drawing a circle out and getting your angles in place. And then also really looking at your reference angles. This chart is going to be helpful. And I would say, there's a couple of patterns that you might be paying attention to. The sine of 30 is the same thing as the cosine of 60. And the cosine of 60 is the same thing as the cosine of 30. And we're going to talk about that relationship tomorrow. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Have a great day.